Now we are going to talk about a phylum that is unicellular. So we're talking about, um, we had talked about multicellular with our seaweeds. Now these are unicellular. So our first phylum is called Basilarophyta. And there's about 100,000 species, and they're commonly called the diatoms. Diatoms have a huge importance in not only the environment, part of the food chain, but also commercial uses as well. Now, one of the cool things about them is they have a cell wall or shell. It's sort of called the same thing. I tend to call it a cell as opposed to a shell wall. But it's sort of like a box in that you have a lid and then you have a smaller portion that fits within that. And each half is called a valve. Each valve is made of silicon dioxide. Now that's SiO2. And that's got a huge importance because when they die, that shell is going to fall to the bottom of the ocean, and we're going to talk about what happens then in just a minute. So there are two basic types. If you look to the left, you have your centric. These are the round ones. That's what centric means. They're circular, and actually or triangular, and when you look at their shell, these are the most abundant in marine environments. Pinnate diatoms, they have more of the rectangular shells, and they're abundant in freshwater environments. So the diatoms can be in freshwater and in marine water, though we're most they're most known for being in marine. Okay, they are the most abundant component of phytoplankton. We've talked about plankton as being, a generalized term for a lot of different organisms, and phyto means plant. So phytoplankton is the base of the aquatic food chain. These are carrying out photosynthesis in marine and in freshwater. So they're very, very important. And what happens is they're also releasing atmospheric oxygen. So I think the percentage is greater than 60% of the oxygen in our atmosphere is actually being released by phytoplankton. So these have a huge importance. And you can see over here to the right, they're very cool when you look at them underneath the microscope because they've got all kinds of different shapes. The pinnate ones tend to be more triangular, and the other ones, the centric ones, are more round in shape. And of course, we know that this is a huge food source for a lot of the aquatic animals. All right, now I'm not going to ask you about specific life cycles because it would take us 2 months to get through all of the different life cycles these things undergo. But you should know that diatoms are capable of reproducing both sexually and asexual. Now, asexual reproduction is always the way that they're going to reproduce when conditions are favorable. Asexual is going to be when conditions are not favorable. And that's going to be true when we get to the fungi kingdom. So just kind of keep that in mind. Asexual reproduction occurs when the two separate halves create a new half. They just split and they create a new one, and one's going to fit inside the other one. So up here it shows you that you have got the smaller portion fitting inside the lid or the taller portion. It undergoes mitosis and two of them split, and you're going to end up with the two individuals. Now, during sexual reproduction, the gametes, which is formed during asexual, they're going to join. They can stay in this form, this gamete form, for a while. And then when conditions are favorable, what they do is they end up undergoing meiosis, which is sexual reproduction, and forming the gametes. All right, the diatoms are really, really abundant in aquatic, and so we said that a minute ago. And when they die, their shells sink to the bottom of the ocean and they accumulate. And there's going to be this layer formed that's called diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth has got a huge commercial usage. So, just to start with diatomaceous earth, there is diatomaceous earth that we can take that is actual a supplement, and I do know people that take it. And there is diatomaceous earth that is more commercial that you would use. I think people put it in their filters of their swimming pools as a filtering. It's very gritty. And when those shells sink, there's silicon dioxide, which silicon is a component of glass. And so they're very abrasive. And this is a type of filtering agent that they use in swimming pools. As far as we're concerned, diatomaceous earth that we consume, and you would never, ever consume the kind that goes into your swimming pool filter, is really good at just cleaning and detoxing. A lot of times when people have other infections, whether it be bacteria, not viruses, but bacteria, and a lot of other Protist infections, and even sometimes with the parasitic worms, one of the things they'll have you do on a daily basis is take diatomaceous earth. Now, it comes in a powder form. You can buy it at GNC or any other places. I've got a girlfriend that takes it every single day, and you scoop it out and you put it in water, or you put it in your coffee or orange juice that has absolutely no taste. Trust me, I am somebody who's big on a gag reflex. I can't swallow a lot of things, but this is no big deal, and it just cleans everything out. It purifies your liver, it purifies your kidneys. It's just a good detoxification agent. Plus, if you have a parasite such as, the bacteria or a worm or another protist, when they eat this diatomaceous earth, because it's got silicone in there, it kind of acts like glass and it kills them. So very often people that have those kind of infections will take diatomaceous earth as part of a not only a detox, but as part of getting rid of the parasite. So it's very effective. It's also gritty enough to where they put it in commercial products like toothpaste. Sometimes your grittier toothpaste for whitening has got this in there. Detergents, paint, the white paint that is on the street that keeps you from going into the next lane. If you notice at nighttime, it has sort of a glittery effect to it. That's diatomaceous earth. They put it in that kind of paint. Also, when they're painting cars for like stock car races or funny car races, they will paint them that pearlescent color, not just a flat color, but it's real pearlescent. And so a lot of times it's diatoms in there. So they have a wide variety of uses commercially and health-wise. Okay, when water temperatures get really, really high, the nutrient availability causes these things to overgrow, and that's called an algal bloom. These are algae, and so they start going crazy. And it's called bloom because they start reproducing. Now, they're going to be reproducing asexually, and what happens is they reproduce and they over-reproduce, and it ends up being pretty harmful to the environment because you have a lot of fish that are going to be gobbling up this algae, and in the diatoms, and in the long run, it's not good for them, and they can end up dying. And of course, they can cause a lot of toxins in the water just from them dying. The bacterial decomposers, they use up the oxygen, and when they do, all the oxygen is depleted in the water, and the fish can't get it. And so that's what causes them to die. When we go over the dinoflagellates, the same thing's going to be happening. So when you have got a lot of algal bloom, sometimes you can see it, especially in the water, where the top part looks just completely green. And that's due to this overgrowth. And the overgrowth is going to cause big time problems, because the decomposers, the bacteria that have to decompose, they are taking all of the oxygen and the fish start dying. So it can be a problem if there is too much. And because this is a food source for a lot of aquatic animals, it's usually kept in check. And we do harvest it for commercial use, but know that an overgrowth can be pretty bad. All right, to sum it up, it's Basilarophyta, the phylum. Your common name is the diatoms. They're unicellular. Your pigments now, they have chlorophyll A and they have C. We have not talked about chlorophyll C. Trust me, it's a different kind of photosynthesis than what we went over, but they don't have B, and of course they have the beta carotenes, which are really their secondary pigments. They're phototrophs, they're carrying out photosynthesis. A representative genera is Artidicinae. I'm not going to ask you about that. Just know these are called the diatoms because there's so many different kinds. I'm just calling them the diatoms. I really don't ask you for a genus.